Welcome to HB Live number 44. We're in beautiful downtown LA where all the hipsters are, the coolest part of town, right, Sally?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
And we're with our special guest, Sally Rogerson, who's a longtime friend of mine. We worked together in the 90s. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But most importantly, we're going to be sharing the incredibly versatile layered bob. And the reason why this haircut is so important is because so many other styles are built from it. And it's also part of our HB shootout. I'm going to turn it over to Sally. She's going to get you started on the technique, and then we'll carry on the conversation throughout the whole haircut. So what's up, Sally?
Hi, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here, and thank you for joining us so much. I'm Sally Rogerson, and I have a hair education company called SR Education. We are here tonight because we want to talk about the layered bob. It's super, super, super in fashion. Obviously, it's bobs, bobs, bobs in the salon at the moment. Very important technique. It's a very classic technique, but depending on how you apply it and who you put it on, obviously it takes on a very, very, very different kind of feeling. And that really depends on the style of the client. You can do this haircut on every type of client, young to old, classic to wild, and I think it works on everyone. So we are using this actually as a reference point for a competition that we're going to be launching or have launched yesterday. We'll talk about that a bit more later, but I want to share with you first of all how I tend to do a layered bob and how I do this haircut. For me, in the SR Education cutting program, there is 3 ways of cutting a line. Either in your comb, that's going to make it strong and clean, pressed against the skin. This is not necessarily one I use a lot because you generally need a very, very, very perfect and good hairline to be able to do that. If you press the hair against the skin very strongly and someone has strong growth patterns, when you let go, obviously you're going to end up with kind of a wavy line. And then you can also work with it in the SR Education approach through the fingers. If you cut through the fingers on a line, obviously you are going to get a little bit of graduation in there. But I think that that's very, very suitable sometimes for curly hair. Also for clients that want to bevel their hair under and work it with a round brush. So sometimes I will work through my fingers on purpose to make it a little bit softer. I think the key thing with cutting a line is choose the approach that is suitable for, the result that you want to achieve. I'm going to go a little bit more through my comb today. I might change it up. Sometimes I do a little bit of everything. Now, the way I work with a line is close my scissors or shears. I prefer scissors. Here we go.
All right,
I knew
let's
this was
start
going to
there,
happen.
because this is a big point of controversy.
I know.
And I like to stoke the flames.
That's why I brought it out.
So, in America,
people
think that shears sounds proper and
Correct.
let's just say better than scissors.
Correct.
But in my experience in
Yes.
England and in Europe, it's exactly the opposite.
It's what you do to shear a sheep.
Yeah, well here they say use scissors to cut paper.
Yes.
And shears to cut hair. Which
I
is one of those
understand,
interesting
yeah.
things. That's why we need a global community so
Yes.
we can all come together. But whatever you call them, scissors or shears, if you cut beautifully with them, like Sally does,
Doesn't
you get
matter,
amazing
right?
results.
Yeah.
So guys, I want to encourage you to ask questions. Obviously, Sally's going to be sharing. She's got a wealth of information. She's got a great history background. We worked together at Sassoon in the 90s. But she's gone on to do so many great things, and we're going to talk about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So let's have a look. So we've got Julie Klein, who's excited because she's doing a hands-on with you in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
So Julie, if you have any questions now about what it's like to do a hands-on with Sally, that would be great.
Hi,
You can
Julie.
share them. Yep. We have a lot of our regulars tuning in. We've got Joe and Patty. I'll be looking at the phone, guys. Don't get mad. I'm not checking my text messages. Sometimes, people get offended. But I'm always looking for questions, and we want to hear all your great questions for Sally. So, Sally, let's get back to this incredibly important outline.
Sure. So what I'm doing really is thinking about how I'm holding my comb. If you're holding it in your comb to cut, if you're holding it in your fingers to cut, you really want to see the spine of your comb, or for me, the spine of my fingers. If I tend to see the palms of my hands, then that means I'm usually flipping my hands up.
That's a no-no, huh?
Yeah, well, it encourages the flip out. And if that's not what you want on your bob, then try and avoid that.
Can you talk a little bit about her hair texture and how maybe that affects your choice of how you're going to hold it? Does it play in when you look at, is it Marissa?
Marissa.
So our beautiful model Marissa, the back of her head is great, but wait till you see the front, it's even better. Yeah? But talk a little bit about the hair. Well, how do you choose the technique you're going to use?
Very good. I think it does definitely depend on the hair texture and density. For me, though, personally, it's more about the style. It's like, what do I want it to look like? Do I want it to look looser and a bit more kind of shaken up?
So if you want it looser and more shaken up,
I would cut it through my fingers.
So a little bit of tension, elevation, a little bit of toe,
Softer.
as we used to say, right?
Yeah.
Tension over direction and elevation. But through the comb, for you, is more blunt.
Yes.
We have a great question
Yes.
from John Ritter. And he's asking, are you using
I feel
the
like I know him.
Well, I think was a famous actor, wasn't it, John
Oh,
Ritter?
is that what it is?
Yeah, from Three's Company, which was a great show.
Oh, I don't know.
That's what gave me dreams of California when
Oh,
I was
yeah?
a kid, yeah. Yeah. But John Ritter wants to know, are you using the fine teeth or the wide teeth?
Great question, John. Thank you for that. I use the wider teeth just to give a looser tension. If you use the fine teeth, I think it's good if someone's got like perfect hair. But how often do we get perfect hair in our chair?
I was going to say, does anyone have perfect
Like, no. So I tend to use the larger teeth of the comb on purpose. I honestly have too much tension in my hands. That's the truth. I kind of just break stuff. So, like the Incredible Hulk.
Like Stone Cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We're going to tell a great story. When I first met Sally was, I think, about 96 or 97, where we're both working for Sassoon. She was an incredible creative director in the Creative Academy in London, and I got to go over as a guest artist and work there when we worked for Sassoon. We had a huge group of Japanese students who didn't speak any English, so we would just tell jokes the whole time and wait for at least I would.
You would do impressions.
I would do impressions, and I was doing impressions of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah, just to break it down and have fun.
It was so funny. I think you had like two girls on each shoulder, like sat on there, and you were like kind of doing wrestling moves.
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
Yeah, Kuma. They called me Kuma. Remember Kuma? Yeah. So again, that's a beautiful part of our craft: the relationships that you build, the history. So again, I've been friends with Sally, and we're going to catch up on all the great things that she's doing. We got some good questions coming in. Head position. Do you keep the head straight up, or do you bend it forward?
Very interesting. For me, I do a little bit of both. I spent probably 22 years with the head forward.
Yeah.
I actually teach in my class with the head up.
Yeah.
I prefer.
It's a bit simpler with the head up.
It's a bit simpler. I like to cut it a bit more where the client's going to wear it. But honestly, on this hair, I kind of like, I'm in the middle, to be honest with you. So I don't want to get it all too messy through there.
Let's talk about the head position a little bit, because like when you say that, so obviously it makes me think. So when the head goes forward, you have to compensate a little bit as you're cutting, right? So do you try to keep a little bit more in the corners when the head is forward?
Exactly, and that's like, to me, SR education is all about trying to make things as efficient and simple and clean and straightforward as possible. Yeah. So to me, putting the head really far down adds another element.
Brooker, A-line from 1976.
I feel like that's just gonna add too much. Because then I've got to think about, well, what's the head like now? What's it going to look like when it's up? It's like too many things. Right. So I prefer to keep the head up.
So naturally, a natural position, you kind of cut what you get. If you put the head forward, you have to compensate.
Exactly.
So there was another great question coming in from Curtis Dutois, and he is wondering, are you planning on this being a little longer in the front, or will it be a square bob?
Very interesting question, thank you. I'm going to keep it a little bit more square, and that's why I've changed my section. So for me, I'm actually going to start to change my section, pivot around, and I'd like to stop there at the back of that hole, so a little bit more in line with the mastoid process. And the reason I do that is to create over-direction on purpose. So I will tend to bring everything back and cut it square to the back of the head. So my sections do not mirror my outline. I'm doing that on purpose because by the time I get up here, that over direction will have happened. When the hair falls down in its natural position, I'll have an extra piece of hair in the danger zone. The danger zone is the ear and the emptiness there. That will give me an extra piece of hair I can tap and I can loosen up so I do not get a hole. So my sections are going to change. They do not mirror my outline because I'm keeping it square. That's just my opinion. There's a million ways to cut hair, people.
Yeah, absolutely. And try them all and see what works. And also to not get bored challenge from time to time. Do
I
you do
cut
that?
with my feet sometimes.
I'd like to see that. The next Instagram Live, number 45. Sally Rogerson cuts with her feet. Yes, absolutely. So, back to the comb, because again, a lot of these fundamentals are the most important questions.
Yes.
So when you said you're working with the wide side of the comb, can you show people how wide the wide side of this comb is?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is just, regular SR Education YS Park cutting comb.
Right.
So for this one, it's not that wide.
We call it like medium.
Yeah, medium.
Fine, medium, and then
That's
that would be
really fine. I'll go to that if
extra
I've got crazy hair. And if I've got like super fine hair, I might even go to that. But this is my usual go-to be honest with you.
So the question was, do you always cut with the wide side of the comb, or are you just doing it here? Like, the question came in from Sarah Eels.
Yeah.
I try to pronounce people's names
Sure.
right, but I usually get it wrong. But she wants to know, like, okay, she understands why you're using it, but do you use it all the time? Or do you like a bit more tension when you're cutting?
Yeah, I change it up depending on the hair density and texture. Honestly, what day it is, I'm not into rules. I like to just kind of do a little bit more what I'm feeling, but larger teeth when I need loose attention, smaller teeth when I need tight attention.
I think that, that made me think of something that I want to ask you, because, I know you very well from when we worked together at Sassoon. How have you changed as a hairdresser since you left Sassoon? Obviously we all love and respect the legacy of what we learned there. We all come from it, all our great mentors were there.
Yeah.
But usually when you leave, like, I got into razor cutting, very, very different.
You were outrageous.
Yeah, very different. But what about you? How have you changed?
Very, very interesting. What I did when I left Sassoon, I, again, have huge respect for being there. I wouldn't be doing my job right now without it. But for me personally, I have simplified myself. For those people that knew me there and knew me before, and you know this about me, Gerard.
You're a complicated
I was the person that put 500 sections in the top before we'd even started. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I do not do that anymore.
I think I took that workshop.
I think a lot of people did. I'm all about supporting the salon stylist. I'm all about trying to give them education and techniques that they can use every single day in the salon. And it's simple, it's efficient, it's quick, and it works. So that's what I do now. So metaphorically, and that's probably not the right word, but I thought I'd say it.
Makes you sound smart.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of cleared up my clutter. I simplified my technique, I simplified my approach, and less is more, right?
Excellent, that's working for you. Let's talk a little bit about SR education, because
Sure.
again, guys, if you have questions for what she's doing technically, which is a beautiful, important thing, please ask them. But I think something else that's really interesting, because a lot of us, especially now, more and more of us are becoming entrepreneurs and business people, especially hairdressers, a lot of independent hairdressers were all business people. I remember a few years ago, knowing you well, you had left Sassoon and you were going to launch something new. And you told me you were going to do a Kickstarter to raise money. It might have been one of the first times I ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the Kickstarter worked?
Yeah, absolutely. The Kickstarter, obviously kind of crowdfunding. I think people are a lot more familiar now with it, but back then not necessarily. I had a dream. I wanted to make this program. I wanted to make it happen. I'm someone that likes to have ideas, but I like to follow through and actually make it come to fruition. And, I was just determined. I did not have the money. I did not have anything to put into, a $300-400 set, in production. I'm very lucky because my husband's a producer, so, we can get to a high quality using friends and that kind of stuff. But I did actually start with a Kickstarter. We raised $75,000 on the first go around for the women's program. I think overall it probably ended up costing about $150,000, once you get everything through, which was still very good. But it was amazing. I literally didn't take any classes, didn't do any classes for about 2 months, just went on the road. I felt like I was kind of campaigning to be like president or something. Just went on the road, did free demos, just talked about it, spent my whole life on social media. And
nothing's changed.
Yeah, and it was, really amazing. And like Heart Attack City.
Yeah.
God.
Awesome. But you did it. And
I
you
did
got something
it.
to be proud of.
It was
came out
amazing.
the other end.
Yeah.
All right, so you're moving on to the sides.
Correct.
Obviously, it's a hugely important part. I just want to say, yes, Michelle Cervantes, this is right now it's a blunt cut.
Sure.
She's getting in her outline, but then she's going to layer. So stick around for that.
I'm going to layer.
The layering's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us how you carry on to the sides. How do you
So
feel
coming
that
through,
whole...
into the sides, for me personally, I'm keeping it super, super, super loose. I'm hardly touching it. So that's the big thing. You've got to allow for the ear, obviously. For me personally, I like to still cut through my comb if I'm doing the sides and the back the same. Now, if it touches the collar, then I tend to turn the head. So if it touches the collarbone and below, I tend to turn the head. If I do not touch the collar, it's just clearing here, then I will go through the comb or my fingers. I don't really go on the skin through that side area. I'm closing my scissor, I'm feeding the hair through, and the big thing for me is to not just tap over the ear. I see a lot of people just doing a bit of this, you know what I mean?
And it doesn't do anything.
Well,
I see
it just
that
looks
all the
good.
time.
Yeah, you got to push it a bit more. Now, I really
Push it
tap around.
there.
I really tap behind the ear because this is the problem area. This is where the empty space is. So I really loosen it up there. Then I loosen it up over the ear, and then the front's not such an issue. So that's kind of my process.
So we have so many of our friends and community members watching, which is great. Gloria Paris, who I just saw in New Orleans. She says hi. Yeah, she's on the Davanez Network.
Yeah.
And she was in New Orleans at Serious Business.
Gloria.
Hi, Gloria. I told you I'd be with Sally.
Yeah.
And lots of love coming in from everyone. They
Hi,
really
everyone.
appreciate the education. We had a question
I just
coming
wanted
in.
to say, like, if people are getting benefit from this, please share it because it makes a
Yeah,
difference.
guys, if you hit the share button while you're watching this, it'll go out to your whole network and more people can see. You know, we do these HB Lives sometimes 3-4 times a week, so we want as many people to benefit as possible. We did have a question coming in about what product you're using in the hair.
Very nice.
It's always a big question that comes in. Do you cut with product and why? What are you
I
using?
work with Davanez. I like to cut with product in the hair sometimes. I'm using the Day Day, which is more of a light leave-in conditioner, you know?
So this one here.
Yeah, this one here, the hair mist. And so I like to cut with product in. Some people hate it.
You can see this one is well used. It must be popular in the salon.
Very popular.
Yeah.
Day Day all day.
So using a little bit of product to keep it damp, and you prefer that to just constantly spraying with water, or?
A little bit of both. Depends on the density, the texture, but more than anything, the condition. She does have a little bit of highlight work in there, so, you know.
You know, Sally, if you know, so many more people are joining right now. If you could review generally why you're cutting through the comb rather than your fingers. We had a question come in from Vi.
Yeah.
Just a little review, because
Yes.
as the people join, sometimes they miss the beginning.
Of course. So for those of you that have just joined us, thank you so much for joining. We are doing a bob. I'm doing the outline now pretty quickly because I do want to go into the layering. I'm working through my comb mainly just because you know, she has kind of quite straight, little bit finer hair, and I feel like I need to get a little bit more bluntness through there. So that's why I'm cutting through through the comb. And I've just chosen that because I like the effect of it. You can also be cutting through your fingers. You can also be cutting on the skin, but obviously around the ear through the skin is very tricky.
Okay, you have a friend watching.
Oh, wow.
Danica Schaefer?
Yes.
Yeah, she's saying hello. So you can say hi. Hi, Danica. Danica's watching. Is she a hairdresser or?
She is a hairdresser.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
That's cool.
she's a good friend
She's
of
like,
mine.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
She's
awesome.
my client.
Okay, great. So Sally again she's getting in her outline here, the perimeter. She's working through the wide tooth of the comb as she explained. And then you're going to be going into some layering. So,
Yes.
you know, sometimes people ask, you know, if you're going to be layering it anyway,
Yes.
why is it so important to have a precise outline? Can you just bang it in one section?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
Of course
being-
you can. You can do whatever
You're
you
not
want.
supposed to say that.
Oh, okay.
You're supposed to say absolutely not.
It
You have
depends
to
what
be-
time it is on a Saturday, doesn't it? To be honest.
Hey, that's an honest answer. I like
Okay.
that.
So definitely, I think that, you know, for me, I'm doing a layered bob. You know, a bob is about precision. A bob is about, you know, it kind of looking correct and falling in the correct way. The way I'm going to layer this haircut is I am going to leave weight in the outline. So therefore, the outline is going to be intact, so it will be seen, you know. What I have done as a concession to working in the salon, because I'm in the salon, right, I've taken away a horseshoe section on the top.
Yeah, we had some questions earlier about
Yeah.
why you did that. I figured we'd
Yeah.
get to it.
So normally what I would do is I would cut off of whatever parting that client's going to wear. But honestly, if I know I'm going to layer that top area, that's what I would do as like a little bit of a shortcut in the salon. I wouldn't bother cutting all of it because I know I'm going to take enough hair out where it's not going to fall into the outline. So there's kind of no point.
Do you sometimes vary the size of this horseshoe depending
Yeah.
on the amount of layers or the hair texture?
Really
Do you have
good
any
question.
insight? I have good
Yes.
questions.
I know, thank you. For me personally, in the SR education program, we always go off of the round of the head on the horseshoe for a layered bob, and also I tend to go the round of the crown. So I'm just going to turn around through here. The round of the crown through here. Now that does feel quite high, but for me personally, when I'm layering the back, and I'm using the back area as a guide to layer the top, I feel like this really works with the correct distribution of weight, and I feel like it makes it really kind of work. If my horseshoe goes lower, it sometimes ends up too short over the crown,
Right.
and it just makes the whole balance of the weight incorrect.
Wonky, as we say.
Wonky.
Okay, we have one more great outline question
Super.
from Alex Humans, who's a longtime hairbrain supporter,
Yes.
and we always appreciate that. If you were cutting a much steeper kind of A-line or triangular
Yes.
line, would you cut the angle in or would you use more over direction?
Yeah, very interesting question. I would cut the angle in. For me personally, if I'm doing a more triangular or A-line shape, then my sections would mirror and I would go all the way through. So in the SR education program, if we're doing square, we cut the back first and then the sides because we feel like we need that extra bit of leeway there to keep some weight over the ear and not get a hole. If I'm doing more triangular, then I tend to section all the way through and my sections would mirror. I would also cut my angle in as opposed to over direct it back. But that's always a very interesting thing, But like I said before, there's many ways to cut hair and I feel like they're all correct. Even that guy with the sword and the fire. That's his thing.
Yeah, we've got a really intense question coming in from Sarah Eels, which I always appreciate that.
Yes.
She said, she trained a lot in her final year on using disconnection
Yes.
To create extra versatility and originality, and then she moved on to working in a higher-end salon where they told her disconnections are old school and not on trend,
Wow.
and to forget them.
Wow.
I was then taught to then connect my cuts, again using an example of A squared, C circle, the Sassoon way, which then obviously led to some confusion on my creative ability and intuition. What are your feelings on this?
Very interesting. To me, disconnection is the fourth technique. Why on earth you wouldn't use it in the salon is just bonkers to me. I've got to be honest.
Well, anyone that makes blanket statements is limiting you.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't
that's
like
old,
anything
don't
that's
do that.
limited, yeah.
I'll do anything to
Yeah,
hair, personally.
I will, yeah.
And it's true. I'll
Yeah.
cut with anything.
Yeah.
Any tool or any technique can be
Exciting,
used
but
well.
that's creativity, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
I don't want those limitations. I think that disconnection is a very important part of salon life, 100%. And it's just choosing the right thing to do, choosing when to connect, when to not connect, Like when I was first starting out, I wanted to disconnect everything,
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
right? So did you.
Either on purpose or not.
Or not.
Yeah.
And then you get to a certain point where you feel confident enough to even just do something simple and stand by it, don't you,
Okay, so this is an important time. So
Da-da-da-da-da.
now we're going to get ready for the
Oh,
layers.
yeah, the layers.
So tell us everything that you're thinking.
So, many ways to do layering. I think this was definitely a haircut for me that was a little bit tricky. What length to cut the layers. If you cut your layers too short for the outline, you're going to get the flip, So if you want the hair to fall under, then you definitely need to think about making sure that your layering length is correct for the outline. So that's the key thing here. We want to maintain the perimeter and the outline. We want to maintain the weight through there. So I have to be very careful. For me personally, how I do a layered bob is I'm going to come off of the head more at 90. So I'm going to kind of think about my comb coming off of the head. Because of where I've sectioned off the horseshoe, it works for me. It works, it falls in really nicely, and I allow the weight to drop out below the occipital bone. So that's how I do it. I find a lot of people, if they work with more of a straight up and down layer, they often get like a ledge on the top and they have to go back in and work it afterwards. So whatever works for you, this is just my approach. From my program, this is haircut M2, so it's in the medium series and it's the second haircut. I'm going to let this drop out. And the biggest thing that I did not know for many years in my career is...
Drum roll, please. The biggest thing that you did not know was...
that you didn't have to cut that much hair off in the layers, right? I always thought a layered bob, you've got to cut lots of layers and cut a lot of hair off. It took me quite a long time.
Well,
I wish you had.
It's just how much of the corner do you want to knock off?
But I used to always overlayer it. Like when I was an assistant, when I was like 17 or 18, I used to overlayer everything when I was doing my layered bobs.
All right, so here we go. So you're literally coming above, I would say now you're like mid to high occipital to start your layering.
Yep.
So you're letting a decent amount drop out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially on this lens, because it's going to flip out otherwise, you know?
Okay, so Daniel Benson is coming to Vegas.
Wow!
It's only been
How
a few days, but I
exciting.
miss your energy and knowledge. Thanks for sharing.
Hi.
Danielle Benson, I'm sorry, Danielle.
Oh, Danielle, that's a different person.
Yeah. And Alex Newman says, oh my God, I love that dress. We love that positivity, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you.
This feed has been great. All the questions coming in, all the
thank
love
you,
and support.
everyone.
That's what we love. That's why we do this. We want to connect everyone together, share information. Tony Sadiq, who's a great friend.
I love Tony.
Yeah, these are all our mutual friends all coming in saying how happy they are.
Hi, Tony.
Okay, so you got the guideline in. Now what's the game plan?
Very interesting part of the haircut. What I like to do personally is I like to walk around the head until I get to the mastoid process, and then everything is going to come back. And it always has to be over-directed back to where that hairline goes to.
So kind of flush with the head.
Yeah, otherwise people are going to get a hole. You take one step further, right? And you over-direct it to there, you've got a hole because you're in the middle of that empty space.
Yeah, you'll lose the outline.
Yeah, I personally don't bring everything back to a wall because I feel like you get too much of a corner there and those clients are like, what's this big heavy stuff through here, you know? So this is the way that I approach it and this is how I teach it. We walk around coming back to the previous section. You'll stop at the mastoid, bring everything back. So
okay, so let's see how that happens now.
That's my feeling.
So vertical sections, and you're over now. It doesn't go all the way back to the first section, right?
No, it goes back to the previous. So 2 back to 1, 3 back to 2, onwards like that.
And then when you hit that round of the head, that's when it all goes back to one place.
Stationary.
So maybe that'll be the 4th or 5th section.
Yeah, usually 5, right?
Yeah.
Average.
That's how we used to say it. To the previous, and then everything back to 5. And that'll help you keep the outline all the way through so you don't get a hole.
Correct.
Okay, so again, lots of people are just joining in, so they want to know about head position.
Oh, good.
So as you're layering, do you like to push the head forward a little bit?
No, I don't really care about the head position too much when I'm layering, apart from the first section. Once I've got my first section in, I just like it natural upright position.
Well,
After that,
why so important on the first section?
Because I want to see how it's going to fall.
So that helps you see how it falls.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
So if the head's down, it skews everything, doesn't it? So when you put the head up, it looks different. So really for me, it's just all about getting that first one in and then following it. That's the key thing, is people kind of get off track, don't they?
Now, as you work around sometimes towards the back of the ear, do you also maybe rotate your hand a little bit? Or do you like to keep it very, very square up and down?
No, I don't keep it square. I keep it a little bit more of an angle.
Yeah, so that kind of protects the outline a little bit more.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
And it's kind of a little more organic in a way.
Yes.
You're just kind of moving a little bit as you get towards the
I definitely walk around, for sure.
Lots of love coming in. Jocelyn says, looking great, Sally. Love watching what you do.
Oh, thank you, Jocelyn.
Love watching you do it.
Nice.
Yep, they're all voyeurs.
Oh.
The whole world are voyeurs
Ooh.
now. Well, you must, to do what we do and cut in front of people, we must be, what's the opposite of a voyeur? Exhibitionist.
Oh, really?
That's us, we're exhibitionists.
I think I'm an introvert. You're an extrovert.
Well, I'm an introvert too. Strangely, you would never believe this.
I'm going to go and stand here, Brandy, so I'm sorry, but I'm putting my back
Well,
on
you can come around here.
Yeah.
I am the extroverted introvert.
I'm with you, I understand. People always think that you're really extrovert. Anyway, that's another conversation.
You just have to know when to turn it on.
Yes,
but there's
exactly.
nothing makes me happier than to just sit home by myself
Oh,
and read
yeah.
a book,
For sure.
All right, we've got people coming in from all over the world, which is great. Scarlett is watching from Mexico.
Hi.
I saw someone before from Poland,
Wow.
which is what's great about this.
Any UK people, they're in bed.
Anybody from the UK? You know, people stay up all night and they can't sleep. The night owls watch while we do this.
Oh.
We're in LA. If anybody's just joining,
Hi,
we're
everyone.
in Los Angeles, downtown LA. We're in
Yep.
the studio. Do you want to talk a little bit about this studio? It's a friend of yours,
Yeah.
salon. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Ashley Flores. Thank you very much, Ashley. We appreciate you. And it's a beautiful little studio, Davines studio here in downtown LA.
Is it Gold on Grand?
Gold on Grand. And they have a beautiful little space, a little kind of a retro vibe. I really like it. Very creative. And I think that that's the way that a lot of salons are going, particularly in LA and California, isn't it? There's a lot of smaller, cool, boutique kind of spaces.
Yeah, it's just the way of the world. It's, you know, people are like, why is this happening to our industry?
Yeah.
It's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
People that do computer work and
Yeah.
people that do literally everything are becoming more independent and finding independent spaces.
They want to put their own music on, they want to do what they want to do,
Yeah.
they don't want to be told what to do.
We just have to learn how to work with it in our industry.
Yeah.
If you have any questions come in that you think are great, let me know. Of course, everyone is telling us where they're coming from all over the country.
Nice.
Yep. Josh LaMonica tuned in, representing the UK. Josh is going to be joining us and teaching. What's up, Josh?
Perfect. Hi,
Okay,
Josh.
so now we want to talk a little
Okay.
bit about the HB shootout.
Oh,
So
yes.
Sally's now working onto the second side,
Yeah.
exactly the same way.
Sure.
She's cutting her line, protecting her outline, over-directing back. Now those of you, a lot of people are loving what Sally's doing and loving the education. We've got something amazing for you that we want to talk about. It's Sally Rogerson's SR Education Hair Happening in
Hair
Las
Happening,
Vegas.
that's
So
right.
tell us a little bit about this, and then we'll tell you how you can win a ticket to go. All right. Unfortunately, no travel is included, but it's $550 for the whole event.
Yeah, oh yeah. So we have decided to put on our own hair happening. We love all the big shows, you know, we're not just being snooty and rude, but sometimes it's kind of quite nice to just do your own independent thing. So we've decided to put on our own hair happening. We have all of our friends coming, you know, people that we really love and love to work with. And, you know, Davines as well is one of my sponsors, also Joyful. And it's really just a nice opportunity to come together. There's a lot of fabulous big hair shows going on, and I appreciate all of them. We just wanted to do something a little
Something of
bit
your
more
own.
kind of cool.
What's
and
your vision?
independent.
Like, what's your vision for it? What is a hair happening?
I think the hair happening is just the ability to, you know, kind of share information, see different types of people, and there's going to be lots and lots of different classes. There's going to be, you know, all sorts of hands-on classes, demonstration, trends. I've got friends coming in from London.
Who are some of the people that are coming to
So
teach
we-
alongside of you?
Well, we have the SR Education team that are going to be there. We also have an evening big hair show, and we have Charlie Price coming, who's
Ooh, my buddy.
amazing. Yeah, love him. We also have Dennis Cooper, who's a good friend of mine and a very amazing editorial stylist from Vegas,
Yep.
from Atelier
So a
Square.
lot of his work. That's a great salon. A lot
Yeah,
of great people there.
absolutely. I've been working with them for a while, so it's really just a case of bringing a lot of people together that I admire.
Awesome.
We also
so this
have
is like a
Mitchell
realization
Cantrell.
for you to get everyone to come
Yeah,
together.
oh
That's
yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. We
Yeah.
also have barbers coming in. We have Linda Ha coming in from Canada, who owns Barber Ha, a really beautiful men's barbering salon in Edmonton. We have the whole team. We have Sophie Dale coming in. We have Kenny Reed coming in. We have some amazing colorists. Also Naomi Knights. She is one of the lead colorists from Davines. She's going to be doing a hands-on class. And we also have Eric Hagen, who is, you know, one of those kind of really interesting, you know, Instagram stars, does beautiful balayage and beautiful work in LA, super humble. A lot of these people, Gerard, go way, way back to being cosmetology students with me.
Awesome.
So I kind
Great.
of brought in my people.
We're definitely going to talk about this more.
Yeah.
We have a lot of questions happening
Okay,
about what's
sure.
going on the
What's
top.
going on
so
on the top.
we're going to now, she just did one side, but now we can see it on the other side. Randy, let's make sure everyone can see this. And we'll let Sally explain exactly what's happening, and then we'll get back to the hair happening.
Okay, so for me, the back area, let's just talk about the back for a second, go back to that. The back area, because I walked around the head when I was doing my layering, if I cross-check the back, I always want to make sure that I'm cross-checking over my fingers, because when I pull it up, it should be curved and it should be rounded. I see so many people, and I'm sure you do, Gerard, that cross-check like that, but I didn't cut a square shape, you know? So, of course, it's not going to look correct. So I'm going to lift the hair up, cross-check, I kind of bend my knees and stand up into it, cross-check over my fingers, and I should be a little bit rounded. Because I'm a little bit rounded, when I come to this top area, my finger angle, I'll turn around to make it easy for Randy to see. My finger angle when I come up to here is a little bit more rounded when I cross-check because of the back area. Now when I come through into the top, I am actually going to make my fingers more square and flat through the top area. And the reason for that is I'm creating a little mini disconnection here where it's weak and where clients, you know, worryingly can get a bit of a hole through that front area. So that's why I'm doing that. My finger angle has changed. I'm connecting to the middle, but my back area drops off. My top area stays square. So
Okay, couple great questions coming in as you work through the top.
Sure.
So those sections through the crown, were they pivoting or were they just vertical?
No, they were vertical and walked around rather
Okay.
than a full pivot.
So they didn't just pivot like from one spot, like sometimes
Correct,
people call it a pivoting
Yeah.
radial. So it wasn't a pivoting radial,
No,
but were
walked
more moving around.
Yeah.
Do you have any input on why one would work as opposed to the other?
Well, I think for me, it still takes a little bit more weight out if I don't pivot. If I
Yeah.
pivot, sometimes it gets lumpy behind the ear.
It makes you want to pull things back more.
Yeah.
It's like an anchor.
So moving, moving is going to give me more of a vertical section, which removes weight. So that's
Okay, yeah. Now, so generally, if you pivot, you tend to find things heavier. If the sections move along a little bit, you can take a
Yes.
little more weight out. I think
Correct.
that, and even in graduated bulbs and stuff, sometimes people pivot all from one spot,
Yeah.
and it gets very thick.
Really
and heavy.
thick, yeah.
Okay, now this is another great question. Kelly Reed Zitter, she'd like to know, what if your client wears a side parting?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Great question. If I'm working on a side parting, and this is haircut M2 from the SR Education Comprehensive Cutting Program, and we share that on my virtual classroom. I show you how to do a side parting. So side parting, we tend to cut more square on the heavy side and a little bit more rounded and curved on the light side. It's very difficult, I think, when you're doing layering and to get the balance right. And I always imagine if we cut it more square across the top, but a client actually takes more of a side parting, think about what it looks like. If I cut it square across the top but my parting was on this side, it tends to look like that. So I'm just trying to right that ship. So I'm trying to square it and round it, and that's what I would do on that.
I mean, do you sometimes just cut it all symmetrically, like kind of like you've done here, even though she seems to be pretty naturally to the
Yeah.
center? But do you sometimes cut it all symmetrically and then customize it when after you blow dried?
Not so much for
Yeah,
me,
okay.
but I can see why you would.
Okay, so you tend to, if they wear a real deep side parting, you customize.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a question from Julie Noteboom Klein. She's been asking this for a while.
Okay.
So if the client wants less layering on the top,
Yes.
what's the best way to do that when they have a deep side parting?
Very good.
Yeah.
For me, I over-direct further back. If I want more layering on the top, then I do not over-direct quite as far back. I'll kind of come up or back maybe one section. So the more I want layering on the top, the less I will over-direct back. So over-direction for me helps me to design.
Thanks for all the love, guys. Thanks for not being mean, because I'm not on my phone checking my text messages. Some people go, why is he always on his phone? I'm working here. I'm trying to help Sally, so thanks. You know, I feel very sensitive. One time someone got very upset that I was on the phone, but here everyone's saying love. So here's a really important question from Nina
Sure.
Danner. Would you ever travel to Maryland?
Oh, of course, I have done many times.
Awesome. So you've been to
I
Maryland.
know, I
You like
know.
crabs? Crab
Absolutely,
cakes?
I've been there a lot of times.
We've
I've
been
got to be
everywhere.
honest.
Did you just come from somewhere?
I did. Yeah, I had one of those weeks where I was in a few cities in a few days. You know what I mean? We did our 2-day teacher training class in LA. So that was really amazing on Sunday, Monday. Got on a plane. I went to Chicago, Milwaukee, and Madison. Got home last night, and I'm back in LA again.
Right on. Did you ever think when you started hairdressing, I'm sure you started as a teenager, just like me, Did you ever think you would spend so much time traveling?
I think I hoped
Yeah, you
so,
wanted to do
because
the
I love traveling.
The rock star hairdresser thing. It never occurred to me. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't until I got my apprenticeship at Sassoon that I realized you could even do
You
stuff
could do
like
stuff, yeah.
that. Okay, important part
Yeah.
of the haircut. Let's get back to this.
Okay, so obviously many ways you can work the front area. I'm not going to do too much with her fringe area while it's wet, but I'm going to go through it slightly. I do like to graduate fringes, so I'm lifting the hair up slightly, keeping my fingers just more square. Ultimately, I've got to decide how much of this area do I want to cut. Now, for me,
It's just beautiful. So
yeah, I want to kind of layer it, right? So I do not really follow that right now. What I'm going to do is take diagonal sections, and I'm now going to lift up. So I came down for my fringe. I'm now going to lift up completely. And I know people get scared around here because the world
I'm getting
like
scared.
how much hair is coming up. So instead of following this, I'm just going to come all the way up to the middle. So I'm looking for the middle of that. I'm going to take my hands completely round through there and then cut up. I like to cut a lot of curves backwards. So I like to kind of do a lot of that kind of thing. And then I'm going to bring the hair down, have a look, see how that's doing. Because I went on that angle up, it fills in this space.
So it creates like a loose face frame, a kind of a connection.
Yeah,
between
but more
the
of a layer, right?
Yeah.
So I came down to put in my fringe length. I came up to take the weight out, because that gives me a disconnection here, which is the area of concern, right?
Okay, so you picked up some of the fringe or the bang. That's another one of our scissor shear things.
Yeah.
And you're looking for the layers that were at the front, and you're just lightly
Yeah,
connecting.
so this fringe drops out. I'm going to find the top of it in there, cut a new guideline. So it does connect, but has a disconnection around some parts of the hairline.
Okay, so a couple important things. Everyone loves your dress, by the way.
thank you.
It's a winner.
It's a winner.
So,
You can borrow it anytime you want, Jerome.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Next off, we have someone watching from Thailand. Good
Wow.
morning from Thailand.
Hello.
Ma'am is watching from Thailand.
Nice.
Now, we had a
Hi.
really great question coming in from Natasha Marshall. Would you change anything in your cutting technique if you were dealing with curly hair? Does this cut translate well to curls?
Very good question. I love curly hair. If you look at the photograph that we have for our competition, that's on more curly hair. I do exactly the same technique, but of course I allow for changing up the tension. I allow for the different springs of the curls, but yes, I do. Sometimes I'll channel it a little bit more.
What do you mean by channel it?
So, for example, on this one, I could do it a little bit here, but I do this a lot on layered bobs. I'll cut cleanly, and then I'll take a nice thin section, and I'll just leave that section out completely. And then I'll go back to it. What it does, and then I'll pick up my guide from here-ish, you know, get back into it, and I'll just show you. So I'll drop that back in, and then I'll start to get these really cool different lengths in there, which I think is really nice for a layered bob.
Big question coming in from Anthony DeSalvo. Are you over-directing everything to one point as you do this?
Well, very good question. I was, but now I'm channeling. I'm not. I'm coming off of its kind of, well, one section forward, I would say. I'm kind of putting a new guide in the middle again, because I left that one out.
Okay, so Sally was talking about her hair happening, which is a 2-day event that's going to be in Las Vegas. People were asking about the date.
Yes,
The date is
26th,
February 26th and the 27th at the Golden Nugget Hotel.
Yeah.
You can head over to the SR Education website to learn more about it. It's in conjunction with our friends at Davines. They're big supporters of yours.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Davines.
Well, I have a brilliant relationship with Davines. They are an amazing company. You know, I came from working with a big, you know, corporation, and I think that when you do that, it doesn't matter who it is, you know, sometimes you want to kind of work with a different type of company. This is very much more of a, I don't know, a little bit more of a family company. Yeah. So I enjoy that. I have a really super relationship with all of them. They're very supportive to me, and I am lucky enough that they support me with product, with support, with SR Education, and it's just a beautiful thing. I think they're an amazing company, and I identify with them.
So they're helping to sponsor your hair happening.
Yes.
And in conjunction with Davines, Hairbrain Sally SR Education, Sally Rogerson's company, we're actually giving away a ticket to attend this 2-day event in Las Vegas. All you have to do is go to the Hairbrained Instagram for instructions on what we call an HB shootout. I know many of you guys are familiar with them. We do them all the time so you can win great prizes. And you have to do a variation of a layered bulb.
Yeah,
you might
your
already,
version.
yeah, you might already have one.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to do a new one. You don't have to do a photo shoot. It
Yeah.
can be Instagram worthy, your nice work on that you're really proud of. Just go to the Hairbrained Instagram or the Sally Rogerson Instagram to learn about the rules.
Yep.
Hashtag HB Shootout, @mention, Davines North America, and make sure you follow all of us because, you know, that's kind of part of what it's all about. We want to make sure that we build our community, everyone's connected. At the end of the contest next week, Sally will look through all the entries and she'll pick her favorite and you'll win a ticket, a VIP ticket, so that means it's, you get everything.
Backstage,
Yeah.
you can come and assist if you want to. I'm not going to try and make you work too hard. You know, if you want to go and hang out somewhere, you can, but you have all access. You don't have to come and sleep in my room, but you know, you can kind of come around. You can.
Only if I can wear your dress. It'll be fun.
Okay. I'm open, you know.
So again, all you have to do to be in the HB shootout is find a great picture or do a great picture of a layered bob variation.
Have you ever had a layered bob when your hair was long?
Kind of.
A
My hair's
band
so
bob.
curly. If you did like a layered bob, it would look like a shake. Yes, so let's get back to some of these great questions. So you're on the side, on the right, and behind on the left. Not really a question, just saying
Because
hello.
I'm cutting short to long.
Oh, he's talking about your body position.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk
That's
about
right.
body position. I
Yeah.
got it. Good
I like to
question.
stand in the front and pull everything towards me when I'm doing this, but when I'm doing such an extreme angle, it's very difficult for me to do that. And I'm likely, if I get tired or it's Saturday and I'm an hour behind or something, I'm likely to cut into my outline and not get my angle right. So I don't normally stand behind when I'm working and push away from me, but in this situation I have to.
You know, it's interesting body position
Yeah.
because I think when you're learning, maybe you hear something or you learn something and it becomes like a dogma.
Yes.
And then you see someone do it a little bit different
You're
and
like,
you go, is it
"What?"
wrong? You know, what I've always said is, you know, it's like dancing. You might
Right.
learn the classic steps, but then you kind of have to put your own swing on it.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't compromise the shape and something great still happens.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen inevitably if you've been doing this as long as we have, over 25 years, eventually your body, you need to hold things and do things differently, right?
Yeah.
So you have to keep an open mind. So
Yeah.
I would say whoever's teaching you, learn their positions and
Yeah.
do your best to learn that discipline. And then once you've got it down, have an open mind to change.
For me, the angle overtakes everything, you know? So the angle is the most important thing, wherever I have to stand to do that. But my classic work, I'm still pretty strict on body position. But, you know, once you get into these angles, it's a whole different story. Now, you're seeing this cool texture because of those channels. And I've always been a real obsessive person about doing quite loose textured haircuts, but cutting them cleanly. So that's always kind of been my passion. And I think
So
you
it's a
know
little
that
bit of a
about me.
contradiction. So
Yeah.
how does that happen?
Well, I like to cut things cleanly using my angles and using my brain and thinking about things, but I do like things to fall soft.
Yeah.
This still gives the client a super haircut that grows out really, really well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't freehand, I do, but if I can do it with my brain and my technique and my angles, it's just more exciting for me. That's just how I work.
So the angles
That's
and the
all.
elevation can create the
Yeah,
looseness
exactly.
rather than just...
Yeah.
Do you have anything against texturizing? or
No,
razor
some
cutting?
days I'll go for it, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh,
So
yeah.
great, guys. You know, tell us a little bit more if you have questions coming in. We love to hear them. Tara Ciani maybe just joined us. She wants you to talk a little bit more about what you mean when you say channels.
Yes, very cool. So channeling is a really beautiful technique originally from the 80s. And when you channeled in the 80s, it was very obvious, you know? It was really thick, short, long, you know, maybe...
It was a channel.
It was definitely very obvious. It might have been black and orange, you know? For me, channeling is a super technique, very modern, but use it a little bit more subtly now. So really what I'm doing is I'm working two sections with my shorter angle, and then I left one section very thin. I left it out and didn't cut it at all. And then I cut two sections, short to long, very strong angle. I left one out. So I've done that all the way through, and that's how I get this kind of really beautiful, loose, very kind of
So Marissa,
textured
you can
feel.
see yourself in the mirror. How are you feeling?
Good.
Yeah? Feel like a change for you?
Yeah, it's
Yeah?
a nice change.
Yeah, because
I
it was
like
pretty much one length before with just some
Yeah.
bangs. Yeah, so you got a little bit of more movement, and you can see that having a lot more body to it, huh?
Definitely.
So these are my longer pieces that have not been cut. So you can see them very, very easily through there. And I'm now going to go back and cut them, right? So I want to think of it almost as like a grid in a way, right? So the long pieces, this is the old haircut in there. So the long pieces I'm going to go back through now, keep them longer. I'm going to work short to long, and now I'll kind of come in and just point them a little bit.
That really shows what you were doing, how you kind
Yeah.
of like skipped, and you can see the short, that's what I mean by channels.
Yes.
And those
You can
blended
see it,
out.
right?
So some of those layers still reach all the way to the bottom, and then you,
Totally.
about how many channels did you do?
4.7.
Okay, so this is the kind of question you always get at this point
Yeah.
about the versatility of the styling and how do you
Sure.
plan to style it.
Very nice. I kind of like a lot of texture, I'll be honest with you, at the moment, you know. I think sometimes we kind of pick up a brush too easily. So I'll probably put some sea salt spray in, something like that. The Davines one is really phenomenal. I use that a lot. I also really like to use the pliable paste a lot as well, and that gives me a lot of texture. So I'll probably do it with my fingers and a diffuser and try and get some texture in there. And then, but obviously you could blow dry it, iron it, whatever you want, really.
Yeah, so do you think that, you know, natural texture is making a comeback right now?
Big time, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's 90s all over again. We're back in fashion.
Yeah, awesome, yeah. You wait around long enough, everything comes back. Yeah.
You can start wearing all your old clothes again.
I have never stopped. Remember I used to wear like my Comme des Garçons pajamas?
Oh, yeah.
People would just
Yeah.
say, I'd be teaching it to soon, they say, are those pajamas? I'm like, this is Comme des Garçons.
They're very expensive.
Yeah, very expensive
Yeah.
pajamas.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. So now what are you doing? Just
pointing into my longer pieces, you can still see my channels. So I'm trying to read the hair, I'm looking at it. I like to work from wet to dry. I see a lot of hairdressers out there spraying it down, soaking wet, you know. That's not me. I like to read the hair. That's what I enjoy about hair. I like to read it, I like to work with it, and this is when I start to make my finishing touches, my decisions, you know, that kind of stuff.
Do you do much entire dry cutting? We had a question before about that.
Not very much. I guess I'm more of a kind of 70-80% kind of person, wet to dry, and then finishing after that, you know?
That's because you're so technical with the basic shape and you use
Yeah.
elevation and angles.
I think so. I
to
love
get
quite
there.
curly hair dry. I mean, you know, it's not always the right thing to do. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
Great, guys. You know, as Sally starts to refine the haircut here, if you have any questions or you need a recap of what she's done, she put in a beautiful baseline at the beginning. And lots of people were asking, will they be able to watch this again? Yes, you will.
Yeah.
It'll be saved forever on the Hairbrained
Forever.
Facebook page. So it's immortal. Yeah, this video is immortal.
Very good.
So you can watch all the way through if you've just joined us. Also, wanted to let you guys know as the fire trucks go by, we are in downtown LA, so the fun stuff's happening. It's because your hair is so hot. They're coming here. Yeah, that was a really bad joke. But anyway, if you want to join Sally at the Hair Happening in Vegas, can't compete with that. What's up? Right outside the window, fire trucks. Live and direct from downtown LA. If you want to join Sally, you can head over to the SR Education website and you can go to her event, which is called Hair Happening in Las Vegas, sponsored by Davines. Or you can try to win a ticket, a VIP ticket, by posting your own variation of a layered bob. And if you need more information on that, you can go to either Sally Rogerson on Instagram or Hairbrain's Instagram, Hairbrained Official, and we have all the rules and we'll be posting them. It's about a week long. It started yesterday, so make sure you get that work
I'm
happening.
so excited to see what people are going to send in.
Yeah.
And don't feel like you have to do what I've done. That's
No.
not what it's about. I want to see what you're going to do. It can be an asymmetric look. It can be curly, straight, whatever.
Okay, so what'd you put in?
I
What
used
is
the
that?
relaxing fluid from Davines. It's a beautiful product. It's really nice to smooth
I remember
it
this,
down.
you know, I first started using Davines back in 2001. When I owned a salon, it was
Yeah.
a Davines salon. And I love that. I
Love
always
it.
loved relaxing food for
Always,
everything.
yeah.
And I love how they keep evolving their packaging.
Absolutely.
I think that keeps it so fun for a salon owner.
Yeah.
That, you know, they keep putting creativity and like kind of making over the product line. Isn't that
The
amazing?
biggest thing for me is the more inside products. I think that's what I like. You know, she's starting to look very kind of Debbie Harry, I've got to say.
Yeah.
In a beautiful way, right? How could you not be? Okay, where's the dryer? What's going on with the dryer?
Okay, there you go.
And I'm going to also use a little bit of the sea salt spray. Where's that from? Thank you.
What's this one now?
So I'm using the sea salt spray by Davines. I put this in everything all the time.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you like with that product?
And that's just going to add some texture. You know, when I was doing more editorial work, we used to have like 3 different water spray bottles, and we used to put 1 water in and sea salt, right?
Yeah.
And all different strengths.
One with a little beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All different strengths, so it kind of takes me back to that. And then obviously the product company started actually making it, so it was even better.
Well, here's another one. Do you remember Lubriderm? We used to use a lot
Yes!
of Lubriderm. There was no curl creams.
Yeah.
You had mousse gel hairspray.
I used to
right?
just use a lot of the conditioner from the backwash, didn't we? Right?
Conditioner
Pump
from the
of that,
backwash.
put it in.
Lubriderm. I even worked with a hairdresser who used to use KY jelly on, on curly hair. It was pretty amazing because it never dried up. You know?
It's like a jerry curl.
All right, so you've got some of the relaxing fluid and you put in some of the salt spray, sea salt spray, and you can already see the body and texture coming out.
Big thing for me is always comb it through, because you've got to try and get a bit of a finish. Even though I'm going to want it to make this a bit wild, like when I dry it and looser texture, I think, you know, if you start off on an even playing field, I think that really helps.
Super rock and roll. I think that's exactly it.
Or
lots of emojis.
Yeah, lots of emojis, lots of you know, rock and roll songs. You know, for those of you, we're going to be in LA a lot. Actually, we're going to be back. You're going to be working at ISSC. Do you have anything happening?
No, I don't. I have a really big teacher training program, and it's our 3-day, 12-month mentor thing. But I'm going to try and make it down, maybe in the evening or the Saturday afternoon. I'll probably make it down there. I'll go and meet up with some people down there.
Awesome.
But
awesome.
I'm in LA teaching.
Well, you know, Hairbrain's going to have a booth, so feel free to join us. And then we have a teach-in on Sunday night, which is kind of a master jam. We have to get you to do a teach-in. Maybe this summer at Naha. We got to get you on the schedule for Naha. Yeah. So we do a master jam where we bring all different people together to cut hair together, purely for the love of the craft. It's sponsored by the Professional Beauty Association, which is amazing. And then about 2 weeks later, Hairbrain's coming back into town. We're doing a gig at the Viper Room. Yeah. So everyone was talking about how rock and roll.
Are you playing guitar?
No.
What are you going to do?
We're going to get like teaching. We get like big, fabulous name hairdressers like Sally Rogerson, where Elevate Hair is about local hairdressers. You know, maybe you've never even been on stage before, but want to.
That's cool.
So we got the Viper Room.
That is so cool.
And we've got like 12 to 13, maybe a little bit more, local hairdressers from around LA and Orange County. And the good thing is they don't have to talk. So doing what we do, chatting and talking, they just get on stage and they do their thing, and we have a live DJ or sometimes a band. Yeah. So look out for Elevate Hair. Okay, so what is that diffuser?
Oh my god. This is the YS Park diffuser. I don't know what those amazing Japanese people do, but they just do it amazingly, don't they? You guys sell these things?
Yeah, we sell pretty much most of the YS Park line at HB Pro, and then Sally has a store as well.
Yeah, we're not doing, we sell a lot in classes, but you know, mail orders
the thing about Japanese tools that people don't understand, or at least, like you said, what is it? It's their attention to detail. The thing about Japanese culture and hairdressers, so we've had these kind of sock diffusers forever, but they were always just like some styrofoam thing. And then these guys at YS Park decided to take it to the next level. It's titanium and silver mesh. And the truth is, if you put your hand in front of this, only heat comes out.
It's amazing.
So it doesn't make frizz. You see how it doesn't blow the hair at all. And you can really work the texturing, which is incredible.
I think so many people do house calls now and editorial and weddings and stuff. It's just amazing to have this in your bag.
You do any weddings, Sally?
No.
Have you ever done a wedding?
No. I've never been to a wedding. I think I've been to 2 weddings in my whole life.
Yeah. I think, you know, that's what's great about our industry. There's room for everyone. Some of us are cutters. We're cutters, aren't we?
I mean, I love doing editorial, but only if it's going to be bonkers. You know what I mean? Like, if it's going to be bonkers, I'm in. I love making things and sticking things on people's heads, and, you know. That's what's
So
gonna be
lots of
happening
love coming
Las
in.
Vegas.
A lot of people want you to cut their hair.
Oh yeah.
So I don't
okay.
know if they're regular people or hairdressers, but they want to be models for you.
Oh please,
And then,
email me.
What
I
else do
need
we got?
so many models. I do so many live Facebook
Yeah.
things.
They say that it's lying beautifully or laying beautifully.
Laying.
What would be the proper term there?
Lying is
Right.
like when you're lying to the
Yeah.
police.
Okay, so it's laying beautifully. It's laying beautifully. Awesome, awesome. So, how long does this type of dry usually take you? Seems to go pretty quick, huh?
Well, just because of this diffuser, honestly, I'm like, it's amazing.
Yeah. Are you finding yourself doing a lot of like round brushing and really kind of blown out hair?
I do sometimes, yeah. If I'm doing show work, I'm always. Sometimes I'll just start with a really solid blow dry, and then sometimes I'll add texture in from then on top. I'm the kind of person that's gonna put too much dry shampoo in and too much sea salt spray. I like it when it gets to that point.
Right. Yeah, so again, with this product, you use like a relaxing fluid as a base, and then you put, they
Sea
almost
salt
kind of
spray.
contradict each
Yeah,
other,
they're
those
opposite,
products.
aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, can you give us a little insight into the
Well,
whole
yeah,
thing?
I used the first product just to seal the cuticle and get rid of the frizz. And then I used the second product to kind of, because I like that really dry texture. So that's why I put the sea salt spray in. Now, I don't even care about styling it at this point. I'm not styling it. I'm adding texture in there. And I'm using my hands in the old-fashioned
It's kind of a
way.
set, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you get it, you clump it together,
Kind
you
of
get the
rub
heat.
the hair
Yeah.
a little bit. I get some heat in it.
Can we call it scrunching?
Yeah, if you want. But I am gonna kind of finish it in a different way. But I'm just getting a new texture right now.
It really is a set, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a form of blow drying. It's
Yeah.
not. I'm not just getting water out.
Yeah.
You're actually working the hair. Aren't
Like
you? It's
grabbing
different.
it, your hand becomes a tool to set it.
Totally,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think a lot of people will say that the best tool that you have is your hands.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so we're getting
Nearly
to
there.
the end here, guys. Nearly there. Are you planning on doing any more cutting after it's
I
dry?
might just do a little bit, but not much.
To see if the hair kind of speaks to you a bit.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. How are you feeling under there, Marissa?
Great.
Yeah, somebody said you look very relaxed.
I am very relaxed.
Yeah.
And how lucky am I to have Marissa in the chair? She's so beautiful.
Yep.
She's the epitome of an SR education-led bob, I feel like.
Awesome. Awesome.
We
There
got
you go.
any dry shampoo? See if we can get me some of that. That'd be great. We have my wonderful assistant Alexa over there.
So what are you thinking now? What's going through your head? What's your thought process?
Oh yeah, oh, this is it. I didn't realize we had that. The dry texturizer, this is kind of a big deal. Apparently it's kind of hard to even keep in stock. It's such a
Really?
big deal. Yeah.
Really? Now?
Yeah. So the dry texturizer, little bit like a dry shampoo, but not as dusty. Like you can put more in, So I'm gonna go in, put a little bit of that in. Again, I'm not styling it at the moment. And then I'll come through and start to decide what it's gonna look like. Here you go.
So that's just a little bit of extra texture, the dry texturizer
Yeah.
from Davines.
So now I'll use my hands just to kind of start to bring it down a little bit. Now obviously it's kind of crazy flicky. I'm going to start to put these pieces down. The biggest thing here is I'm going to kind of flatten it, right? I'm going to flatten it. I'm going to start to kind of add a little bit more of my shape. See what's going on. I'm trying to use the palms of my hands. I want to bring it down a little bit. I don't want it all big and crazy. I was just getting texture in it.
Just like any kind of styling, sometimes you have to do it bigger to break it down.
First,
So
yeah.
even if it's a roller set or a round brush.
Oh yeah.
So even with that natural drawing, you had to blow it up to kind of tame it
Yeah,
down.
to bring it down. And
Yeah.
now at this point, what I always do is actually come back through and put a little bit of water or like a little bit of, leave-in conditioner or
little
something.
moisturizer.
I bring it back in and then I
It kind of reverts the texture a
put
bit.
the texture
doesn't it?
back in
Yeah.
once I've put it in, so it stops it being too mumsy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. I mean, sometimes we'll even do that with like a Denman blow dry.
Yeah.
I'll leaf through the hair like really quickly, and it looks like a little bit momsy, and then you wet it down with something like that, the Day-Day spray.
Yeah, get it back in.
Yeah.
All I can see is,
It made a beautiful difference, actually.
yeah, you see?
Yeah.
Just makes it a bit more modern. All right, nearly there, guys. Just going to do a little bit of
Zhuzhing.
zhuzhing. A little bit of freehand.
That's a technical term.
Zhuzhing. Zhuzhing is like,
So my phone's died, so if you see any questions coming in, Alexa, let us know. Any final questions?
Do you finish with a wax on the ends?
Would I? Yeah, can do. I'm not a huge fan of wax because I feel like it starts to go a bit greasy after a couple of hours.
That was from Susie Goldenberg.
Hi, Susie.
And ma'am says, so nice.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Julie says, looking awesome.
I love how much positivity came in here.
Oh my
That's my
God.
favorite
Bryn
thing.
Boostra says,
So
yowza,
fabulous.
with lots of hearts.
So much love coming in.
And then
you
she
know,
said, mic drop.
drop your scissors.
God, no, too expensive.
What do you like to use for scissors?
SR Education scissors.
Tell us a
Gerard.
little bit
That's what
about
I like to use.
Tell us about them.
They are handmade in Japan and hand finished. I was given a pair of scissors, not shears, given a pair of scissors by a friend of mine. He came over from Japan. He gave me a gift. Gave me these amazing pair of scissors. There was nothing on them, no name, nothing. And I was like, where the hell are these from, you know? Took me like 5 years to kind of get him to tell me where they were from and to track them down. Oh, yeah.
Japanese secret.
Absolutely. And then eventually I tracked down, you know, the factory, and now we have them made for us.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Isn't it
Last
nice
forever.
to kind of make your own tools?
Yeah.
You know, at a certain point, if you love the craft,
Yeah.
an extension of it is making your own things. And I
Yeah.
think it's a wonderful feeling, and you should have a lot of pride.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I feel really good about it. It's just really nice to get to
Melanie
that
Gale
point.
says, gorgeous cut, definitely something I would try.
Cool. Definitely. You know, I'm quite a commercial person. You know, I definitely have been wild and wacky in my life, and
Yep.
some days I am. But honestly, you know, I'm kind of into what we do in the salon, supporting the salon stylists. That's kind of what we do every
And
day.
Tommy Malone is saying, amazing, I love you.
Well, thank you, Tommy.
I'm saying amazing too. So happy to see this transformation. Again, you can watch this from the beginning at any time and review all the questions and answers. We started out here with Marissa
Just
has
stand
almost a
right
one length cut, and then Sally showed how to bring the length up and layer it. And here's the beautiful end result. And we're
Stand
going
here
to get
against
a little final. So let us know your final words, Sally.
Yeah,
Close
so
it out for us.
this is Marissa. She has, you know, had kind of my version of a layered bob right now. I'm really into just a bit of texture, keeping it really kind of loose, and just want that slightly late 70s vibe, that slight Debbie Harry kind of feeling. Did my outline first, and then I went through with a little bit of layering, a bit more through the top of the hair, kept a bit more weight in the outline, and then I did some channeling through this front area. So simply worked the front, went into my layer, short to long, left a few long and short pieces out, channeled through, and then did a bit of freehand afterwards. And yeah, that's my final look. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I appreciate you all tuning in.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you soon at someplace else doing some amazing thing for craft hairdressers. Love you. Peace.